6.2 is on horizontal and vertical lines. And so in this lesson, we're just going to talk specifically about the horizontal line and vertical line, but their relationship to a function. Because sometimes in math, things are going to be like just straight up and down lines or side to side lines, and we want to kind of know how does that play in as a function. Remember, we talked about functions in our last lesson, and we said a relation is a function if every input has exactly one output. Okay, so kind of plug that in the back of your mind, and we're going to come back to that. But let's first talk about the equations for horizontal and vertical lines. The first one here says, in the coordinate plane, the graph of y equals b is a horizontal line. So that's this line right here. We're not talking about our x and y axis. Okay? So when we look at this, this could possibly be y equals 3, for example. Now what do we mean y equals 3? And this is the tricky part. The y-axis is vertical. Y is our y equal to 3 line horizontal. Well, let's think about this. If we had some points, and we always made the y 3, so let's say we did 0, 3. If we did -2, 3. If we did 1, 3. If I were to plot all of these points, 0, 3, -2, 3, 1, 3. Notice that they create a horizontal line. So it's kind of opposite of what we think, because we think of the y-axis being vertical, which it is. But if we want all our y values to be the same thing, it creates a horizontal line. Likewise, it says the graph of x equals a is a vertical line, and it's kind of the same way of thinking. Let's say this was x equal to -1. X equals a number. Well, this means we always want our x value to be -1. So -1, 5. -1, 0. -1, -3. So notice here, x is always -1. If we were to plot these points, what would happen? -1, 5 would be up here. -1, 0 would be here. -1, -3 would be in here somewhere. So notice, even though our x-axis is horizontal, when we want all our x values to be the same number, it creates a vertical line. Okay? And we'll work about in class how we remember this. So basically, all we're talking about today is these equations for horizontal and vertical lines. So let's look at another example. This one says sketch a graph of y equals -1. Y equals, see that right here? We can do this really easy. We know that y equals anything is a horizontal line. So what we could do is just find -1 on our y-axis and draw a horizontal line through it. And it really is that easy. The tricky part is trying to remember if it's horizontal or vertical or why it's a horizontal line. Okay, but if we can kind of remember what this means, pick some points on the line. This point right here. Notice it's a point 1, 2, 3, -1. Maybe this point over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be -6, -1. Okay. Right here. -1, -1. Notice in all of these, our y value, our y coordinate is -1. And that's what we want here when we say y equals -1. We want all the y's to be negative. Creates a horizontal line. Likewise, or you can say the opposite of, when we have x equal to 2, basically you go to your x-axis, find 2, and draw a vertical line through it. Oops. So we have a vertical line here through x equals 2. And just like we did with the y, if you check the points here, this is the point 2, 2, not the best example, let's try this one. This is the point 2, 4. This is not even on the line, sorry about that. This is the point right here. 2, -3. Again, look at though all our x values are equal to 2. So the sketch of x equals any number, it's going to be a vertical line through that number on the x-axis. Now, let's go back to this idea of functions. We said a line is a function, or a relation is a function, if every input has exactly one output. So when we look here, if I input a -6, I get out a -1. I'm not getting out something else. If I input -1, I'm getting out -1. If I input a 3, I'm getting out a -1. Yes, all the inputs are the same, or I'm sorry, all the outputs are the same, but I'm not inputting -6 and getting two different things out. I'm not inputting -1 and getting two different things out, likewise with 3. Something else to remember is our vertical line test. If we run a vertical line, in this case a really large vertical line, across this, does it ever hit our graph right in here at more than one spot at one time? And the answer is no. It only hits each spot of our graph at one time. So we could say that y equals, that's going to be a function. Horizontal lines are functions. Okay. Well, let's try a vertical line. Notice here, if I were to do kind of a mapping diagram real quick, my inputs are 2. My output is -3 if I write it in order, 2 and 4. So when I input a 2, I get out 4. If I input a 2, I get out 2. If I input a 2, I get out -3. Notice, by inputting 2, I get out a bunch of different numbers. Nothing wrong with that. That's a vertical line. Except it's just not a function. Okay, so vertical lines are not functions. And again, if we put this vertical line on it, well, we're good until we get about here, right on the graph, and every single point matches up. Again, nothing wrong with it, it's just not a function. So horizontal lines and vertical lines should be pretty easy to draw once we kind of figure out which is which. Again, y equals is horizontal, x equal is vertical, opposite of the axes. And for functions, horizontal lines are horizontal lines are functions, but vertical lines are not.